So Nintendo's next home console, the Nintendo Switch 2, was announced a while back, alongside a new Mario Kart game for it, which is great and all. Every Nintendo system needs one of those. But you know what else they always have? That's right, a new Super Smash Bros. Game, which, let's be real, is absolutely happening for the Switch 2. Probably not anytime soon, but eventually for sure. So today I wanted to go over some hopes and wishes I have for the next Smash title. You've probably seen videos like these before, and while I enjoy seeing people speculate about which new fighters will be in it and such, I don't really consume Smash Bros the same way most others do, so I think I can give somewhat of a unique perspective in this video. Personally, I care more about stupid stuff, like which characters will make sounds during their idle animations, or what will the dumb new side mode nobody cares about be this time. That's what I want to know. That said, I still obviously do care about more general topics regarding the next Smash title, so let's start off with a question that's on too many people's minds. Will it be Smash Bros. 6 or Smash Ultimate Deluxe? Aka a port with all DLC included and maybe a couple gameplay tweaks here and there, which Nintendo has done a lot in the Switch era. I'm obviously not omnipotent or whatever, but I'm like 90% sure it won't be Ultimate Deluxe. And you want to know why? Because you'll be able to play Ultimate on the Switch 2 anyways. And I think by now Nintendo has learned that porting a game to a system that can already play the original through physical backwards compatibility is just a terrible idea. Look at Zelda Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD on the Wii U. You couldn't play the original Wind Waker on it, but you could play Twilight Princess on it, since it also released for the Wii. So, unsurprisingly, Wind Waker HD sold a lot better than Twilight Princess HD, even though initially Twilight Princess was the way more popular game of the two. In a more extreme case, Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, a DS game, got a full remake on the 3DS, a system that could already play the original. So the remake ended up being the second worst selling Mario game to date, only beating out Mario's Tennis for Virtual Boy, and it even famously bankrupted the company that made it. I think this alone is more than enough of a reason for Nintendo to not even consider re-releasing Ultimate in any kind of way for the Switch 2, or any Switch game for that matter. That said though, Smash Bros. Is always one of the biggest hitters on each system it appears on, so an Ultimate Deluxe would most likely still sell really well, especially if they add like 3 new characters, but that would be insanely scummy. Oh, you like Smash Ultimate? You want to play as Master Chief in it? Then buy this $70 port, dumbass. Now, people would absolutely double dip on Ultimate if it meant getting even one new character. I mean, I know I would. But this would also cause some major outrage. So I personally just don't see it happening. Not to mention that everyone that likes Smash Bros. Already has Ultimate, which they'll be able to play on the Switch too. You know what they could do though? Release some new DLC characters for Ultimate, and make it only available on the Switch 2 for a limited time, maybe even for free, and then add it to the Switch 1 version a month or 3 later for $20. That would absolutely sell a couple more Switch 2 systems, and maybe even some more copies of Ultimate, as if it needs that. I'm not saying that's what I think they'll do, but if it is, you heard it here first, folks. Alright, enough talk about what form the next Smash game will take. Let's move on, assuming it'll just be Smash Bros. 6, a brand new game, because it probably will be. Another idea that's been going around is that it could be a reboot for the series, which a lot of people seem down for, but personally, I don't really want that or see it happening. I feel like most people saying they want it to be a reboot just mean that they want a lot of characters to get entirely different movesets to potentially better represent them, like Mario using power-ups from his home series, or famously Ganondorf not being a Captain Falcon clone anymore and just using way more magic. Rebooting the series would mean drastically changing its core design, which I don't want them to do. I don't just love Smash Bros. Because it's a big cool crossover, I love it for its gameplay, 2D playing with platforms, building up percentage to knock your opponents further and further and further until you can launch them off screen. That's the core design, and personally, I don't want them to change that. Like what, do you want it to become a 3D arena fighter? A traditional 2D fighting game? That's just not Smash Bros. Even if they didn't use health bars and instead still used percentage and launched distance-based KOs somehow. And again, I don't think they'll do this, because Smash's target audience is absolutely casual gamers, and the current system with directional-based inputs and focus on free-for-all potential is a large part of what casuals play Smash Bros. For. Not to mention, it's just a great system. There's a reason why there's a billion platform fighters out there all based on Smash Bros. Now as for changing up character movesets, yes. Yes, please. That is easily my biggest wish for Smash Bros. 6. More specifically, just giving more of an effort to better represent the characters. I've already shared my disdain for Zelda character movesets in another award-winning video that you should check out, but it goes way further than just that. It's not just about changing their current moves to be more creative. Like, yeah, I'd like Mario to have a new down tilt where he swipes with a Tanuki tail quickly instead of a generic kick, but I'd also like him to have a unique mechanic where his footstool actually deals damage, because jumping on enemies is like Mario's main form of attacking in any game he's in. Mainline platformers, turn-based RPGs, he even does it in the damn movie. And then maybe make one of his new moves, like an updated down tilt for example, specifically combo into a footstool, and then maybe add on a new ground pound inspired down air that would flow well after a footstool. That's a great example of updating a moveset to be more referential, while still making it flow well. Just anything unique that lets the creativity of each character's home series shine through is what I want way more of. I'm not really a big Sonic fan or anything, but even I would love for him to be way cockier with his animations and actually have a creative moveset instead of just rolling up in a ball. In an April Fool's video I made a while back, I lied, saying that Sonic jumps off stage and dies if you stand still for too long, in reference to the same thing happening in Sonic CD, which obviously isn't actually a thing in Smash, that was just modded in, but thinking about it now, that would unironically be an awesome way to bring over the creativity of the Sonic series some more. Like, I can't think of another game where something like that happens, or another character where it fits as much as with Sonic, so giving that to him in Smash would be amazing. Here's an idea I got a little too late during the making of that Zelda moveset video to include it in. Imagine if Link's grab still functioned like a standard grab, but instead of actually grabbing you with his hands, he freezes you in place with the stasis rune from Breath of the Wild, lasting longer the more damage you have. And then when he pummels you, the arrow shows up, indicating where you'll be launched, growing with each pummel, until he inputs a throw, which has him hit you in that direction right before the stasis runs out, and then you get launched. If it worked like that, it would still mostly function like a normal grab, but have way more referential charm. That's overall just my biggest wish for Smash 6. Anyways, look at this. This is footage from both Smash for Wii U and Ultimate. To experienced Smash fans like me, and most likely you, the difference between these two games is pretty obvious, right? Ultimate's movement is faster, the UI is different, the way characters get launched is different, you get it. Even if I showed 16 different gameplay recordings, randomly spreading the different games throughout, and blurring the UI, you'd probably still be able to tell which is Smash 4 and which is Ultimate, right? Casual Smash fans, however, at least most of them, probably wouldn't be able to tell the two games apart, because honestly, they have no real reason to, and with the Switch 2 already being capable of playing the ultimate Smash Bros. Experience right out the gate, why would they buy this new Smash game, especially if it does end up cutting some characters from the roster? They don't care about not having directional air dodges or core-in, they just want to play some good old Smash Brothers. This is partly why I hope the next Smash game will have a completely new art style, looking nothing like any other Smash game in the series, and especially nothing like Ultimate. The newly announced Mario Kart is actually doing this pretty much. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a massive game. If you compare the amount of courses in each mainline entry and ignore the Wii U version of 8 since Deluxe is an enhanced port of it, then it makes up a third of all playable courses in the series. Why would casuals care about a new Mario Kart? Well, the new one looks very different. There was a huge era for Mario games where they all had to look very stock, generic, safe if you will, with little creativity. Think New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Mario Party 9, Super Mario 3D World. Mario Kart 8 is a very pretty game, for the most part, and it does have visually interesting locales. But looking at the character designs and models specifically, I think this still falls under that generic and bland Mario style. Newer Mario games have definitely done more of an effort to look lively and bubbly with models and animations. Mario Bros. Wonder is the clearest example. Everyone was praising how that game looks, and for good reason. It's so fun and stylish and unique, and the new Mario Kart is doing the same. It's so full of life, the characters are redesigned to have this wonder-like charm to them. Donkey Kong looks like that. Why is the eye mask so big? Circling back to the point of this tangent, this is what I want the new Smash Bros. Game to do. Not necessarily look like Mario Bros. Wonder, though that would be awesome, but maybe some kind of hand-painted look with thick outlines like Okami. Or maybe something inspired by old cartoons like Cuphead. I don't know. I really don't have a specific art style that I'd want in mind. I just want something completely different. And I don't mean just slapping some kind of filter on what they currently have. Kinda like that one Smash Ultimate pre-release trailer that was supposed to mimic the art style of the Everyone is Here banner. Nothing like that. Before a character gets announced as a playable fighter, I can already picture exactly what they would look like in Smash, and 9 out of 10 times I'm completely right, because it's not hard to imagine. Smash has been reusing models or slightly tweaking them for a pretty long time now, which is fine, but I'm ready for something new, even if that does mean they'd have to pretty much redesign every character in the game from the ground up. That sounds pretty good anyways. Moving on, you know what's a really big part of Smash that people don't pay a lot of attention to? The soundtrack. I mean, Ultimate literally has over 1,000 songs in it. You ever stop to think about just how ridiculous that is for one game? That's all fine and good, but I really just want to talk about remixes for a bit. They're unironically one of my favorite parts of the Smash series, and I don't ever hear people talk about them when discussing new Smash game wishes. Plus, I spent too long on that goddamn 15-hour-long remix ranking video in December to not bring it up in a video while remixes are still fresh on my mind. First and foremost, I want at least one new remix per franchise on the roster at launch. Currently, the distribution of remixes is frankly terrible. For example, Star Fox, Kid Icarus, Wario, Punch-Out, Sonic, and Bayonetta all got 0 new remixes in Ultimate, and neither did Xenoblade or Final Fantasy before DLC. Meanwhile, Mega Man gets 17 new remixes. Like, what is that distribution? It doesn't have to be like this. Smash 4 made 20 Mario remixes, which is a little much for sure, but at least Smash 4 also gave nearly every other playable franchise at least one new remix. The only exceptions being those weird one-off series like Game & Watch, Rob, and Sonic. On that note, why the hell does Sonic still only have one remix? Seriously, it's from Brawl, 2008, and it's not even that good. The Sonic franchise has had a gigantic resurgence in the last couple years, mostly thanks to the movies. So if any franchise is getting a double-digit amount of new remixes in the next Smash game, it better be Sonic. One thing I also never paid much attention to before making that ranking video is just how many remixes come from the 8-bit era of gaming. For every single remix, I listed how I think it compares to the original song. But for 8-bit songs, I didn't list a comparison because I don't really think it's fair to compare this to this. You know what I mean. I get that these songs are iconic and all, but seriously, give some more love to modern gaming, and some more love to songs that aren't as iconic. Remixes that are super unexpected are always nice to see, like Midnight's Lament, Cosmo Canyon, and Earth from Ultimate. Those are always some of my favorites. Here's a quick list of really unexpected remixes I'd love to see. If any of these happen, I'll be sure to pop off accordingly. Feel free to share your own, by the way. And also, here's the same thing except just for the Zelda series, because I am an unapologetically biased hoe. Alright, before we move on, here's a quick speed round of more remix stuff I want while it's still fresh on my mind. Stop making medleys of songs that have no business being together. No more music that's just a port with one small change and then labeling it as a remix. No more remixes that just completely remove what made the original song unique and replacing it with generic electric guitar. No more remixes made by the same composer as the original song. It's boring. Stop making remixes that already exist. Seriously. In Ultimate specifically, this happened way more often than you'd probably think. No more f***ing Zelda main team remixes or Mario Bros. 1 ground team remixes. We have enough of both. And at least one Xenoblade remix that doesn't suck ass. Please. I'm desperate. Well, that was a lot. Anyways, here's something I want that's still related to music, but not about remixes specifically. One of my favorite things a video game can do is have dynamic music. You know, music that changes depending on what's happening. This is pretty common in RPGs. For example, the recent Thousand Year Door remake did this by having 2 versions of every battle theme that switch depending on if you're currently choosing an attack and actually attacking or being attacked. I always love this in games, and I think Smash Bros has a really easy formula for being able to do this. In fact, Ultimate already does so on a couple stages. For example, on Suzaku Castle, all songs that aren't remixes will change to the low health variant from the original game when the match is almost over, which is of course different per game mode. All the other stages that can change their music only do so in a timed match when there's 30 seconds remaining. I want more stages to have dynamic music under more conditions than just the match almost being over. For example, in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, the unique enemy theme normally sounds like this, then gets more intense when the enemy's health falls under 50%, and then it enters a short frantic loop at 10% health. Smash 6 could take this exact song, not even a remix, and split these 3 parts across different moments in a Smash match. For example, in a 1v1 match with 3 stocks each, it could play the first version at the start, then switch to the second when 3 total stocks have been lost, and then switch to the last version when both players have 1 stock left. It could even add the ending jingle it has in the original game when the match is over, like this. Obviously, I don't need every stage to have something like this, that would be ridiculous, but I feel like for the games that already have dynamic music, it wouldn't be too hard to implement, at least for some of the songs in them. Alright, let's finish with a topic most of you are probably curious about. Characters. Kinda. Yeah, I don't really care who gets in, honestly. I know that might sound crazy, but seriously, I don't care that much which specific characters make it in. Like, yeah, I have ones I'd like to see. Gino has always been my biggest want, and I think Noah from Xenoblade 3 would be cool because I love that game. But, at the risk of sounding dramatic, as I get older, I care less about who gets in and more about what the movesets of new characters are. For example, before Ultimate came out, I never cared much for Incineroar's inclusion, and I was even a little salty over it because I thought the Decidueye would have been a way cooler pick. But then when the game released, I discovered that I actually really like how he plays, and he's one of my favorite characters in the game now, solely because he has a fun and unique moveset. I think this is a sentiment Sakurai agrees with, as he pretty much said so in the Byleth presentation.
When we add a new fighter, we don't simply make their attacks or their movements a little different. Instead, we try to offer you a whole new style of play.
Which he likely said here because he anticipated people getting mad over an 8th Fire Emblem character getting added, even though Byleth plays nothing like the others. So personally, I don't care who gets in, but I'd like to see some more fun new takes on Smash fighters. For example, I think a character with roguelike mechanics could be cool, like someone that gets to choose a new upgrade to their moveset or something each time they get KO'd. Something that's not a character archetype, but I'd still really like to see on the roster, is some actual indie game representation, as currently the only playable character in Smash from an indie game is Steve. And even then, Minecraft is a weird case, as it was only made as an indie game, but isn't made by an indie game studio anymore. I guess you could say Steve, Zombie, and Enderman are indie game characters, but Alex is not. It's weird. Anyways, indie games are growing more popular every year, and I personally believe that with the disappointing direction tons of AAA studios have been going in, alongside the growing amount of quality indie games being made, that they deserve to be held in higher regard. And there's no real reason why they can't be more represented in Smash outside of a couple Mii costumes and a 1 assist trophy. I have a couple characters in mind that would be cool. I love Shovel Knight, so seeing him as an actual playable character would be awesome. Chris from Deltarune actually wouldn't surprise me as a promotion for future chapters, since they probably won't all be out until after Smash 6's release. And Zagreus from Hades could be the roguelike pick I just talked about, and I haven't even played his game yet. I'll get around to it. That said, if there's any indie game character that deserves to be on the roster, it'd be Quote from Cave Story. Simply because Cave Story is one of the most important video games ever released, and arguably the most impactful indie game of all time. Daisuke Amaya, the creator of Cave Story, was pretty much the first person to show the world that a great game can be made by a team of one back in 2004 when the game released. I feel like pretty much any indie game dev in the world would say that they were partially inspired by Cave Story, and even if they weren't, they were definitely inspired by a different indie game that in turn only exists because of Cave Story. I know Yume Nikki also came out in 2004 and actually released before Cave Story, and not to discredit it, I know it's also really impactful, but that was made in RPG Maker and originally only released in Japanese, whereas Cave Story was made in English and wasn't made in a pre-existing program specifically made for creating games. Daisuke Amaya actually made many of the tools used for Cave Story's development himself, which is insanely commendable, especially back in 2004. All I'm trying to say is that I think it's time for Smash to pay indie games, and especially Cave Story, the respect they so clearly deserve. I'm not even a massive fan of it or anything. I mean, I like the game, but I more so want it on the roster because of its legacy, not because I think Quote has some insanely untapped moveset potential or something. And as for adding more indie representation, I don't even think a playable character is the only way to go. The knights from Castle Crashers are like the most obvious Mii sword fighter costumes ever. Freddy's Pizzeria could make for a really funny stage kinda like gamer, and I'd kill for some Pizza Tower music or a remix in Smash. And those are my biggest wishes for the next Smash Bros. Game. I have some other wishes that aren't as big, so I think I'll cover those when the Switch 2 has been out for a while, or if the next Smash game has actually been announced. We'll see. Big shoutouts to Minus, who is a new member, CPJ, thanks for the upgrade, Giant Firing Coal, LyrFX1, The Flying Fire, Quote is Cool, Pixel Boy, who is also a new member, Herc, Sheen for the Win, Goomba Odyssey, Exobear, Lime the Chef, Still700, and the rest of my amazing Patreon supporters. You guys make this channel possible. And one final thanks to you for watching. Let me know what you'd like to see in the next Smash game. I always think it's a really interesting topic. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.